Everyone. Welcome back. We are in month 2 of our money, purpose, legacy journey. And tonight I want to talk about something that I think is going to help things click for some of you that maybe hadn't clicked for you before. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So month 2 is called the energy ledger. So if you were here last month for Money and Magic, then you know that we talked about the mirror. And if you haven't watched that training, it is in the classroom in the module Money, Purpose, and Legacy. So the idea is that your bank account is not just tracking your sales, right? It's reflecting what you believe you deserve. And tonight we take that one step further because here's what I've learned after doing books for 30 years and sitting down with so many different business owners. Your financial picture does not just reflect your beliefs, it tells you the whole story. It tells you every pattern and every mess and everything that has been avoided or ignored. And it's all right there in black and white. Your books do not lie. And tonight we're going to talk about what they are actually saying. So I just want to start with something a little personal tonight. Some of you may know me already and know part of my story, and some of you may not. But I really think it's important for you to hear this from me directly. When I started my bookkeeping business, right, I was not charging what I was worth, not even close. And you know what? My books and my bank balance reflected that. The numbers told the story before I was even willing to admit it to myself. I had all these years of experience, clients who trusted me completely, and I was still undercharging because some part of me didn't fully believe that I deserved more. And every single month, my financial picture confirmed to me that that belief was right. And that is the energy ledger, right? That's your beliefs and the energy you're showing up with, because that's what your actual numbers are telling you, whether you're ready to see them or not. So, what is the energy ledger? So, the energy ledger is not just a spreadsheet, it's not just numbers on a screen, it's a living record of your relationship with money. What you believe shows up in your books, what you avoid shows up in your books, and what you tolerate shows up in your books. Everything eventually shows up in your books. So once you start seeing it that way, once you stop looking at your finances as just math and start seeing them as a mirror to your beliefs, everything about how you approach money is going to change. So, what I see when I walk in. So, when I go and see a client, what I actually look at when I walk into someone's business for the first time, I have done this hundreds of times, and the energy in the room is almost always exactly the same. First comes the embarrassment. Before I even open anything, they're already apologizing. I know it's a mess. I've been meaning to get to this. Please don't judge me. And then almost immediately after that, relief because someone is finally there to help them make sense of it. Someone is going to look at the thing that they have been avoiding and telling them it's going to be okay. That embarrassment and that relief, I see it every single time. And it's not a personality thing, right? It has nothing to do with that. It's not because people are disorganized or bad at their business. And it's what avoidance feels like when it finally meets accountability. right? When we finally take accountability for our stuff. And most of the time, it's not even as bad as we often think it is. So, what that embarrassment really means, the mess in your books is not evidence that you're bad at business. It's evidence that something got in the way of you looking at your books. And that something, 9 times out of 10, is fear. Fear of what the numbers will confirm, fear of the story that they actually tell you, right? And fear is going to look and feel far worse than not looking at all. Numbers are just data. Your books are just data. But what I really want to tell you, something I learned from sitting across from all these business owners over the years, is exactly this moment. It almost never feels as bad as they thought it was going to. Almost never. The story we tell ourselves is often so much scarier than the real mess itself, because that mess can be cleaned up. Okay, the 4 patterns. So, what I actually find when I open someone's books for the first time, because after all of these years, I have seen the same 4 patterns come up over and over and over again. And I want you to listen to these, not just as bookkeeping problems, but as the story underneath them. Because every single one of these patterns is telling you something. And once you hear what it's saying, you're not going to be able to unhear it. So the 4 patterns are missing transactions, mixing personal and business money, unfiled taxes, and not having a system at all. So let's go through each one. So pattern number 1, missed transactions. This is the most common one that I see, okay? Income that's not recorded, expenses that were never entered, bank statements that have never been reconciled against the books, months, sometimes years of transactions just sitting unaccounted for. And here's what the pattern is really saying. When you're not tracking what is coming in and going out, you're not paying attention to your money. And you're not paying attention because looking feels dangerous. And it feels like opening a door you're not sure you're ready to walk through yet. So the practical cost is missed write-offs, income that disappears into thin air because your tax bill becomes higher than it needed to be because nobody was watching the write-offs. Pattern number 2, mixing personal and business money. And this is my biggest pet peeve with business owners, honestly. So this one is so common in the online space that it almost feels normal, right? Business owners paying personal expenses out of their business account, running everything through one account because it's just easier. But here's what mixed money really is saying energetically. When you have not separated your personal and your business finances, some part of you doesn't fully believe that your business is real yet. It still feels like that little side hustle, like something you're trying rather than something that you've actually committed to, right? And practically, mixed money makes everything harder. It makes your books a nightmare to have to clean up later on, sorting through personal and business expenses, not knowing what is what. And it creates tax problems. It makes it almost impossible to know if you've actually been profitable because your personal spending is running through the same account. It just doesn't work, guys. I don't recommend it. Pattern number 3, unfiled taxes. Now, this pattern is one that I see more than people would expect. 1 year of unfiled taxes becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, and before long, someone has not filed in 5 years, And the thought of dealing with it has just become so overwhelming that they just keep not dealing with it. But here is what unfiled taxes are really saying. The fear of the IRS has become bigger than the actual problem. And I get it. When the mess gets so big, it stops feeling like a bookkeeping or a tracking problem, and it starts feeling like a character flaw. And nobody wants to sit with somebody and have their character questioned, right? But unfiled taxes are not moral failure. They're not. They are just avoidance that has compounded. And that actual problem almost always is never as bad as the story that you've been telling yourself about it. Okay, pattern number 4, no system at all. So when you have no system at all, your receipts are in a shoebox, you're guessing at numbers when somebody asks you about your business, handing your accountant a pile of statements at the end of the year and hoping that they can figure it all out. And honestly, not having a system, it doesn't mean that you're disorganized. It just means that you have been waiting until you feel ready. And here's the thing about waiting until you feel ready. Ready never comes. Okay? Ready is a feeling that follows action, not one that precedes it. So you keep waiting and the pile keeps growing and tax time keeps getting harder and harder every single year. All right, so let's take a moment to reflect on what I've said so far. So just take a second here. How many of those 4 patterns did you recognize yourself in? So just think about that for a minute and just notice, because noticing is where everything starts to change for you. The financial cost. So what is it actually costing you? Because I think a lot of people know their books are a mess and tell themselves it's fine. I will deal with it eventually. I'll deal with it at tax time. It's not hurting anything right now. But it is. When your transactions are not tracked, you're missing write-offs. Every unrecorded business expense is a deduction that you're not claiming. And every deduction you do not claim is money that you are handing straight to the IRS that you did not have to. I've seen people overpay their taxes by thousands of dollars every single year simply because nobody was tracking their expenses. Not because they didn't have legitimate deductions, but because nobody was writing them down. When your personal and your business money is all mixed together, your profits are invisible. You literally cannot see how much your business is making. You might be profitable and not even know it, or you might be losing money and not know that either. And when taxes go unfiled and the penalties and the interest compound, what started as a manageable problem becomes a much bigger one simply because time has passed. The IRS does not forget. They just keep adding to your bill. Now, the mental cost that this actually takes, the mental cost is actually much bigger, and it's one that nobody puts a number on. The mental weight of not knowing your books are a mess, or of knowing your books are a mess and not knowing your true income is actually exhausting. It sits in the back of your mind every single day. And every time someone asks you how your business is doing and you have to guess, every time you log into your bank account and feel that familiar knot in your stomach, every time tax season rolls around and the dread starts creeping in weeks before it even arrives, that is not just stress. That is your energy that could be going into growing your business, energy that could be used for showing up for clients, creating content, building something real. Instead, it's being used up by financial anxiety running in the background of your mind 24 hours a day. Now, the confidence cost. This is another one. When you do not know your numbers, you cannot make real decisions. You price based on fear instead of data. You say yes to things that you should say no to because you're not sure if you can afford to turn away income. That was me in my business. I underpriced and I said yes to things that I should not have because I didn't know my true number and I was fearful of turning away income. But here you stay small because expanding feels so risky that you have no idea where you actually stand. And I've watched people completely transform the way they operate once they fully get their books straight. Not because the numbers were suddenly perfect, but because they could finally see a clear picture. Clarity truly is power when it comes to your money. And the shift. So this is one thing that I want to leave you with tonight because I don't want you walking away from this feeling overwhelmed or ashamed or like the mess is too big to fix because it's not. I promise you, it is not. Every single mess is fixable. Every single one. It doesn't matter how long it has been. It doesn't matter how many years of taxes are sitting unfiled. It does not matter how mixed up your money is or how long you've been avoiding it. It's all fixable. And it almost always feels so much better once you start than you thought it was actually going to. So here's what happens first. You cannot fix what you do not look at. And looking, really looking, starts with understanding why you have not looked. What story has been keeping you away? What belief has been running in the background, making your mess feel so much bigger than it actually is? Because once you see that, once you understand what that means, and that mess is not evidence that you're bad at business, but that it's evidence that something just got in the way of you looking. Everything starts to shift for you. All right. Curiosity over shame. Stop judging your mess. Start getting curious about it. And curiosity is so much more powerful than shame when it comes to actually making a change. The most powerful thing I have ever seen a business owner do is stop judging their financial picture and just start getting curious about it. Because curiosity opens the doors that shame keeps locked. So picture this. I want you to think about one thing before we wrap up here today. What would it feel like to open your books next month and finally understand what you're looking at? To know exactly what came in, what went out, and what you got to keep. To sit down with your accountant at the end of the year and already know your numbers before they do. That feeling, that confidence, that clarity, that peace, that is what one on the other side feels like. And it starts with one small step. Not a perfect step, just the next one. So, what's next? Here is where we get to go. Next Tuesday, inside of bookkeeping office hours, we're going to go deep. We're going to take each one of those 4 patterns, the missed transactions, the mixed money, the unfiled taxes, and the missing system. And we're going to look at each one and look at what each one of them means energetically and what to actually do about it practically. So this is where the energy ledger becomes a real working document in your business. Not just something that you understand, but something that you actually use. So if you're not inside my bookkeeping office hours yet, next Tuesday is a really good reason to join. we're still in the founding member price window, and I would love to have you in the room. Now, with that being said, that price is going up the first week of August, and it's going from $27 to $47. So if you want to get in now at that $27 price and lock in that founding members price, now is the time to do it. And if you're already a member, then thank you. And I will see you on Tuesday. Come ready to take a look at your books with brand new eyes, because that's what we're going to do. So thank you for being here tonight. This work really matters in your business. You matter. And the next chapter of your business is so worth getting this right. Thanks, guys, and I will see you all on Tuesday.